The Pirates of the Caribbean franchise kind of came from out of nowhere to be a massive hit, though the series took some lumps as it progressed with lesser reviews. The first film, based on the Disney theme park ride of the same name, was a fun swashbuckling adventure that could have stood on its own. However, due to its success, a blockbuster franchise was born, and in the eyes of many, had told its complete story by the time the third entry concluded. That said, the movies were still extremely profitable, which led to the release of Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides, a fourth entry. Fans were unsure about the movie because, as much as they loved the franchise, this installment didn't bring back many key characters, including Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann, who were the two most important characters besides Captain Jack Sparrow. Ultimately, the fourth film was kind of a standable Jack Sparrow tale. There were some issues getting Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides to screen, especially with one of the highest budgets in the history of movie making. The end result was a film that grossed over $1 billion, but left a lot to be desired in the eyes of many. However, time has shown that it's actually an underrated flick. On Stranger Tides received worse reviews than the trilogy. The Pirates of the Caribbean movies weren't exactly critical darlings. The inaugural film has a 79% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is far and away the highest score for the franchise. Dead Man's Chest clocked in at 53%, while At World's End dropped to 43%. Unfortunately, On Stranger Tides didn't reverse that trend, falling even further down to 32% before the fifth and final, to date, installment bottomed out at 30%. Their Metacritic scores also dropped over time, though casual moviegoers seemed to still find fun in them. Alas, seeing the scores continue to drop meant that, in the eyes of many, this franchise should have stopped at World's End. On Stranger Tides was criticized for several things, from a disjointed plot to action sequences that didn't live up to what came before to a side story that focused too much on lesser-known characters. The reviews were understandable. Jack Sparrow shines in On Stranger Tides. While the lackluster reviews do make sense, there is actually a fair amount to like about On Stranger Tides. There's no doubt that Captain Jack Sparrow was the driving force of the franchise, so the fourth installment putting the focus more on him was a good idea. The character is immensely charismatic and he can carry a film. The plot doesn't always work, but Jack makes sure that each scene has something worth watching. The movie is basically Jack getting caught up in all sorts of shenanigans before having to wriggle his way out. It won't make for a complex, incredibly crafted story, but it does make for a good time. Johnny Depp gives one of his better performances as Jack Sparrow and he works well with everyone. Jack's banter with Captain Barbossa is full of charm, his antagonistic relationship with Blackbeard is engaging, and his bond with Angelica is intriguing. Blackbeard is one of the franchise's best villains. Not enough people talk about it, but Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is home to some great villains. Captain Barbossa became a hero, but he was fantastic in the first movie. Davy Jones has incredible CGI that has withstood the test of time and his line delivery is remarkably entertaining, while Cutler Beckett is detestable. Even the fifth installment had Captain Salazar, played well by Javier Bardem. Captain Blackbeard, portrayed by Ian McShane, ranks right up there with the best of them. He's a legendary pirate in lore, so it's a recognizable name, and he gets hyped up immediately when Jack notes that he's the one pirate all pirates fear. That establishes him as a threat and McShane's performance makes him a force to be reckoned with. Whenever he appears on screen, he instills a bit of fear into the audience. It makes for a different kind of villain, which helps him stand out. It's also interesting that his main focus of the film is to prevent his prophesied death. Blackbeard is a fearsome villain who can go toe-to-toe with the likes of Jack and Barbossa, yet his own mortality is probably his biggest fear. That's a character flaw that helps ground a villain and makes him more than just a one-dimensional character. Add in his complicated relationship with his daughter and first mate Angelica, and Blackbeard is a character who is a treat to watch. Jack's relationship with Angelica is a highlight. Captain Blackbeard isn't the only person to have a complex relationship with Angelica, played by Penelope Cruz. She has a history with Jack Sparrow and her introduction is one of the cooler concepts of the movie. Jack hears stories of an imposter Jack Sparrow who is recruiting a crew and nobody watching expects that person to be revealed as a woman. It helps to set her up as something of an equal to Jack, who can match him in everything from wits to fighting. Angelica also brings a fun new side of magic to the franchise as she practices witchcraft and voodoo magic. She's often forgotten about when the best characters from the Pirates of the Caribbean series are discussed, but there's so much that's intriguing about her. She fits right into the franchise, as you can never truly tell where her allegiances lie. Is she going to help her father through it all? Will she align officially with Jack? She's someone you can never be sure if you can trust, which allows her to fit right in. The romantic element between Angelica and Jack is also a highlight. To this point in the franchise, Jack had women pop up with whom he had flings and not much more. There was Elizabeth, but she was clearly connected to Will. Cruz and Depp, who had worked together before, showed off electric chemistry, and the fact that romance was always an underlying aspect of their conversations made it all the more intriguing. Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides is far from the film in the franchise, but it's better than it gets credit for.